Hi there, my name is Jay. Welcome to my channel. Today I thought I'd talk with you about why I love umbrellas for backpacking. I forgot, is it bad luck to open an umbrella inside? Anyway. So, ever since my backpacking trip in the Smokies, Great Smoky Mountain National Park, the last day it rained the entire day, and I didn't have an umbrella. I actually had a poncho at that point because I was still testing out different gear. And I remember just walking in the pouring rain, like not being able to eat anything because I knew if I pulled out any kind of bar, the rain would just get in it and just be a mess. So I just kept walking and walking, just waiting for the next shelter and hopefully getting to the next shelter in the Smokies so I can sit in protected area and eat. I could barely use my phone because it was raining like crazy and the phone will just get super wet and the touchscreen doesn't work as well when it's wet. So I wished I had an umbrella, and ever since then, every other trip after that, I have been using an umbrella. I've carried it with me at Mountain Rainier National Park when I hiked around in there before the PCT. On the PCT itself, I used a chrome umbrella in the beginning and actually used that till maybe mile 1200, and then swapped it out with a lighter normal hiking umbrella, and I carried that the rest of the way. I carried an umbrella on the rest of the whole Arizona Trail and Wonderland Trail. I carry it pretty much everywhere, and I'd like to go over the reasons why I always carry an umbrella with me, as well as some cons associated with it. I feel the pros are well worth the cons, so it's worth it to me, may not be worth it for you. So something interesting, umbra in Latin means shade or shadow. Because the first umbrellas ever used were maybe 4,000 years ago, made in China, although I guess there have been some like ancient artworks that looks like in Greece and Egypt, they also use umbrellas around the same time. And they primarily use it for shade, just to have someone hold it over you or hold it yourself, just to provide shade from the sun. And in fact, another word for umbrella in Spanish is parasol, which is for sun. So it's odd that these days people associate umbrellas more for rain than the sun, but if you carry it with you hiking, you could use it for everything. Now this is just a normal umbrella we actually use here in Emden, Germany, because it rains quite a lot. We never use this for the sun because the sun is, it's out today, but usually not that out. But normally when I go backpacking, I clip it onto my shoulder straps. I use 1/8 inch shock cord and have one high up and one down low and just clip it on. And it holds it in place well enough that it doesn't slide down, it just holds. Use these little plastic sliders to lock it in even further, and it stays put pretty well. Of course, the cons of this is when it's really windy, you can't have it there because the wind shifts direction so much. You'll have to hold it so you can adjust for the direction of the wind. The other con is, of course, when you're walking through brush and trees, they're going to scrape up on you. And what I would do often is I would just lean away from whatever side has the most brush, or I would just reach up and basically close it a little. This umbrella, yeah, like that. Each time I walk through some tight area and then pop it back up. This umbrella isn't the best, but that's what I would do all the time if I didn't want to keep taking it on and off, on and off. The umbrellas I have, they close a little better and keep you protected, so you can still get through and not get rained on, and that's that. I saw that Z-Packs now sells a umbrella holding kit where they have a 1/8 inch shock cord on the bottom. I think it's 1/8. And they have a little clip that you can kind of slide the top part in to. So I ordered it, so I'm looking forward to trying it out. I am going to get on the Appalachian Trail with 2 shock cords plus the plastic clip, just in case that clip doesn't work well enough. Maybe it's not strong enough and the umbrella will keep popping out if there's a gust. That way I could just go back to the shock cords if that doesn't work out. The little clip is just nicer because it's smaller and it doesn't kind of get in the way. Although the shock cords are nice because if it's not raining, you can just hold water bottles in the 2 shock cords. So those shock cords are multi-use. You could hold, I've held a tripod on there sometimes. You could hold anything that you can just kind of slide it onto. So It's pretty useful, but that's the way I attach my umbrella to my backpack. There's nothing fancy or tricky about it, just basically 2 rubber bands holding it against your shoulder strap. Now, the way I see it, an umbrella is basically a portable shelter that just follows along with you as you hike. You can pull food out of your waistband and eat, and you don't get rain all in the bars, and you can just eat. You could pull out a camera and still take pictures. Don't use flash though, because you just get the rain there. But you can take pictures, you could take video, you could hold out the umbrella a little further and hold the camera and vlog actually. If you're a vlogger, umbrellas are super nice to have around. Sure, most of the phones and GoPros are waterproof and you can hold it out in the rain, but there's gonna be water drops on the lens and it's gonna interfere with the video. So it's better to just hold this out and just hold the camera out like this and just vlog, and it's actually pretty nice. The only catch is, of course, if you hold the camera right here, you're gonna get a lot of rain sound. So you'll want a lav mic or some type to run towards your mouth area so you pick up more of that than the rain around, just to get better audio. The other thing too is if you have a camera that isn't waterproof, like a mirrorless camera, I mean, they're water resistant sometimes, but they're not waterproof. It's nice to have a shelter so you can actually set up the camera, you can take pictures, you can do pretty much anything you can with an umbrella. It's really nice. Also with an umbrella, it's easier to use your cell phone. Like I said, most of them are waterproof these days, but the screen doesn't work as well when your fingers are all wet or if you get water all over the screen. So it's nice just having this connected to your shoulder. Pull out your phone and just use it without rain dripping all over it. It works a lot better. You may have to wipe off whatever rain splashes on there or blows on there, but it works a lot better without rain constantly hitting your phone. Another big advantage of an umbrella is your shoulder straps and whatever pockets you have here don't get wet. So your hip belt and the hip pockets stay dry, as well as like a fanny pack or chest strap you may have. A lot of people hold the phone in a shoulder strap. That stays dry. Your hands will get wet because you're kind of out underneath the umbrella. But overall, things that normally would get wet will stay dry. The foam in your shoulder straps won't get soaking wet. It's going to take forever to dry. And this also helps protect the back of your backpack from getting all wet. If you utilize a pack cover for your backpack, your umbrella will actually cover it enough so the rain will drip from the umbrella onto the back of the backpack and then just drip off, so the whole inside does not get wet. And I find that really useful just to keep everything dry so you can bring it inside your tent when you get to camp. Keeping your backpack and your pads all dry isn't necessarily for comfort, but they're basically sponges and they're going to soak up a lot of rain, and it just can be additional weight you don't need. So having an umbrella just kind of has everything just float off of you. Another thing nice with an umbrella is if you've ever backpacked in hail, it's pretty annoying. I guess if you have a hat on, it doesn't hit you in the face, but it could be annoying. But with an umbrella, it just all bounces off. It's pretty nice. It's going to be a lot louder because of all the pounding, but you never feel any of it. Of course, at some point the hail will be too big and it's going to damage your umbrella, but that would be one heck of a storm. So just enjoy having an umbrella for that reason too. One thing people don't think about when using an umbrella is when it's cold and raining, or it's just sleeting or even snowing. If you're not using an umbrella, it hits your rain jacket, like the hood and your shoulders, and if it's just rain, it'll drip off. If it's a really waterproof jacket, the rain will just kind of drip off and it's not as bad, but most jackets will start kind of wetting through after some point, and it'll actually just sap the heat out of you. I've seen it in my Virtus jacket. Like, it's waterproof for a little while, but then after a while you can see it getting wet. And what's interesting is if you pop your umbrella over your shoulders after they're already wet, you see them drying. It's because your body heat is just evaporating the water. The problem is then that water is just absorbing all the heat from your body and your head and just going off in the atmosphere. So if you really want to stay warm, I think it's really beneficial to have an umbrella just to keep all that water off your shoulders and your head and most of your body. With snow, you can even tell, like, snow would pile up everywhere and it melts because of your body heat, and then it drips away. It doesn't really evaporate as much in the winter, but having a way to keep all the water and snow off of your body entirely, it helps you stay warmer in colder temperatures, especially if it's not below freezing. That rain, I think that rain really got to a lot of people on the PCT. When we got to Washington, it rained maybe half the time I was there, and some people were just miserable and freezing. And I actually felt kind of guilty because I had my umbrella. I was just walking around and having a good old time and playing with grouse and stuff, but I wasn't cold at all because my body was dry. Another thing I do with my umbrella is if I get to a campsite and it's raining and I want to set up my tent, people always say, like, oh, how do you get your tent out without getting the inside of your pack all wet? I just keep the umbrella attached to the backpack and I take it off, and it basically sits above the backpack. You open it, take your tent out, and you just kind of fold the cover over. You don't have to close it all the way because the umbrella, if it's not windy, the umbrella will just keep your backpack protected while you set up your gear. And then once you're done, you can bring everything over and then toss it in the vestibule. Backpack is still dry. So umbrella, I think, is good for protecting things other than just yourself. Another thing I did with umbrella is one time I was at Mount Rainier, it was raining really hard and it was blowing, and it was kind of blowing from the vestibule area. So I propped this up inside the vestibule, and the bottom goes to the floor. So because I had a Z-Packs duplex, there's a big gap between the tent and the floor. Some of the rain was blowing up, and I just put this down there and blocked it right up. It was really nice. You could just fold it up later, leave it out there. It was just another option I could use to help keep dry from the rain. Also, when I get out of my tent to go number one, like pee, or even out of my car from car life, I like to use an umbrella instead of using a rain jacket. Because if you put on a rain jacket and you go outside and you come back in, you're coming in with a dripping rain jacket. So what I like to do is just have an umbrella by the side, pop it open as I leave, do my business, and as I go back in, fold up the umbrella, and I'm dry, but the umbrella is wet, and I could just leave that outside and no big problem. And there's no wet rain jacket to have to deal with. Another reason I really like this one, I learned from the Smokies as well, is if you have to go number 2 out in the woods and it's raining, you will have a hard time using toilet paper. That will just get wet right away. Your hands will be wet and you'll touch it and it'll get wet and then it'll just disintegrate and it'll be useless. So I found if you just have an umbrella, you can just kind of cover yourself and do your business, and everything underneath the umbrella is dry. So you can actually, you're not sitting there, rain pouring down on you and you got dry toilet paper. Umbrella is the way to go. Besides rain and sun, the other advantage is wind. You may think wind and umbrellas don't mix, but there are some instances where you can utilize an umbrella to fight the wind, and it helps quite a lot. Like basically just blocking the wind from your stove. If it's really bad, you can just prop it down and it's a complete wind blocker. The other nice thing I found is if you're watching a sunset or sunrise, and as long as the wind's not coming from your point of view, you can just kind of like prop it up and protect your body from the wind, and you don't get nearly as cold. At Mount Rainier, I was actually doing a time lapse, and I was there for over an hour and a half. And I sat on a boulder with an umbrella just like this the whole time while it was going, so I could survive while the time lapse was going. Everything was covered in snow, so it was quite cold, but the umbrella helped me stay up there, and it's great for blocking the wind. The other thing people don't think about is if you have a down or some kind of puffy jacket, when it's really windy, it actually will compress some of that insulation, making it less effective. Even if it's a windproof material, it'll compress that down and it won't be as effective and you'll get cold in that area. But if you use an umbrella, you can actually just block the wind and you'll maintain that maximum loft and stay warmer. Again though, this is more useful when you're watching something or you're just sitting still somewhere. If you're moving, I guess you can use an umbrella to block the wind as well to stay warm, but you're probably going to stay warm if you're just moving constantly. To block wind, it also helps if you're a vlogger. Even if you have a wind muff, it can still create some noise and you can just prop the umbrella out and vlog. Like, you can't see the umbrella, but you can still block the wind. And I don't know if any of you will be doing this, but if you ever use a tripod and you're recording some video and it's really windy, unless it's a good tripod, but if you're doing ultralight and you got a lighter tripod, the camera will still shake in the wind. So it's nice to have an umbrella just to put next to the camera and just hold it there so you can block out the wind while you record your video. As for sun, on the Appalachian Trail, I'll carry a regular ultralight hiking umbrella with me. And some people say they're not useful at all against the sun, but they are effective against the sun. You just can't hold it right next to your head because you'll feel more of the heat. And long-term use will degrade the material, so they're not really made for the sun as much as the chrome umbrellas. But I find the ultralight one is a lot lighter, so that's what I'm bringing, and they're smaller. But on the PCT and the Arizona Trail, I used a chrome umbrella quite a bit in the desert area, and I loved it. I thought it was more than worth the weight to carry it. Just, I don't deal well with the heat, so that's what I like. And after I traded that out for my hiking umbrella, I use that sometimes in the sun as well. And it works just fine. It still creates a shade for you. It won't be as effective, but it works great. And if it's really hot, it helps a ton. The other thing I use an umbrella for the sun for is protecting camera equipment. Sometimes if you have a camera sitting out somewhere, maybe there's some really beautiful clouds drifting over mountains. It's the middle of the day, you set up your camera, that sun is going to heat up your equipment and it could overheat. But have an umbrella, just create some shade and just sit there and you're good to go. I've used this at least 3 times doing that because the heat was starting to really heat up my equipment, and I was kind of worried about it. In the Sierra, I was actually doing a time lapse of snow melting, and I set up an umbrella just to keep the camera protected, and it worked great. And Crater Lake, quite a while ago, I set it up and just sat there under the umbrella, making sure the camera was protected and then a little of me was protected as well. And again, worked out great. So it's great for blocking anything. Maybe you have something cold you just want to keep cool. Umbrella for shade. Biggest con with an umbrella, of course, is if there's thunder. You don't want to be holding a metal rod up in the sky if there's lightning around. I know the chrome umbrellas are made of carbon fiber or plasticky material, but I don't know if that's quite safe either. Generally then, you just kind of go like everyone else with an umbrella and just carry it. But anytime when you're lower and it's raining without the thunder, I love it. And I will always continue to carry it with me every time I go on a backpacking trip. Unless I know it's 100% not going to rain. But usually in those instances, it might be so hot, it's going to be sunny. I don't know. So that is the reason I'm carrying an umbrella with me on the Appalachian Trail and every other backpacking trip I'll go on. I'll have a link in the description with the umbrella that I use. It's a little weird. The ultralight umbrellas close weird, so you just have to get used to that. But I've had mine for a long time and it's gotten a lot of miles, and I think it's still good to go for the Appalachian Trail. Is anybody else out there planning to use an umbrella on a trip? Or do you take an umbrella when you go backpacking? Just discuss below. I'd like to hear from you, and maybe you have some different pros for using an umbrella, as well as maybe different ways you're attaching it, maybe like in the back somewhere or something. But yeah, I think they're super useful. You all have a good day, and I will talk to you later.